You're listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast, celebrating hunting dog heritage, competition, and community. United Kennel Club has been the hunting dog sports home for coonhounds, beagles, retrievers, pointers, cur, feist, and more for over 125 years.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast. This is Trevor Wade. I'm the Coonhound Program Manager here, and I'm joined, as usual, by the Director of Hunting Ops, Alan Gingrich. Alan, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good today, actually.
Not too much jet lag from the trip down south?
No, it wasn't too bad. I got to sleep that night. You went out on the final cast or whatever, but I got to sleep in a little bit that morning, so I felt pretty good, actually.
Hey, it's kind of a long night, but man, I never take it for granted, the opportunity to go out and see history in the making and see these guys achieve these big wins with their dogs. That's kind of a surreal feeling, being out there and seeing people achieve lifelong dreams like that.
Yeah, I've seen a good number of those over the years, not just this event, but a lot of different events. So it's good that you get the opportunity to see some of these, and you're right.
Yeah. And I guess we better preface this by telling them what event we're talking about. They probably saw in the title of the podcast, but we're talking about the 2023 Grand American.
Yeah.
Kind of the one that kicks off the competition year every year there, first weekend in January. And we just got back from Orangeburg, South Carolina. And man, we had a really good weekend, I think.
Yeah, we did. I thought the event was as smooth and as good as any, really. You know, the weather, it always makes it nice when the weather is nice. And I've seen it being anything and everything, you know, but this year, again, it was in the mid 60s to upper 60s probably, and just beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice crowds. Mid
60s through the day, mid 40s in the night. You know, it was perfect hunting weather outside of maybe a full moon and maybe a little bit more water because of the previous couple weeks than normal. But I think you could tell in the hunt scores and obviously the entries there that we'll talk about a little bit that it was sure good weather to go hunting because there was a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And they were fired up.
Yep. And probably the biggest thing that I saw that I was kind of surprised by that I didn't think we'd have that many was the walk-ups they had.
Yeah. I think beforehand, we fielded a couple calls and messages, 169 pre-entries each night in the Grand American. I guess some people are probably pretty a little worried about it, a little off pace of what they may usually see. And me and you talked about it, and I thought that we would probably get to around 250 entries a night with them getting maybe 70 or 80 walk-ups a night. But man, was I way off.
Yeah.
Friday, they ended up having over 130 walk-ups, and they broke 300 entries on Friday night, and then on Saturday another 100 walk-ups, and they got around 275 on Saturday night.
Yeah, and good for them. We love to see them do well like that, so kudos to them and everybody involved. And it's always good to see and obviously I think good weather helps a little bit, you know, and kudos to them. It's just a good event. Yeah. Good numbers, you're right.
That's kind of funny. We flew down for the first time this year. I'm used to driving down. We usually do a 2-day trek down through the mountains of Tennessee, and we get over to Orangeburg about midday on Thursday. This year we flew down, and it was great weather. I mean, it was a little chilly here. We flew over to Washington, D.C., flew south to Charleston, and it was fine weather until we got to South Carolina, and then it started raining there in the airplane. I said, well, here we go. Another year of it. But, man, that was not to be for the whole week. That was just a one-night thing, and it was beautiful the rest of the week.
Yeah, so for us, if we drive, it's about a 12-hour drive, and generally we kind of split the drive. We drive down to Sevierville that are on Interstate 40 and usually split it up like that, and that's usually not too bad. And I've flown a bunch, and I'm not going to get into it, but I think when we talk to David McKee, and you're going to hear some of that here in this podcast a little bit later on, but I think I mentioned a little bit about my first flying experience to Grand American, so you can check it out there when we talk to David.
Oh, a little teaser. I like that. Yeah, well, and we got there Thursday, and I think it was evident already Thursday that there was going to be the vendors were back at Grand American this year. It seemed like maybe they were off the past couple of years, and David talked a little bit about that in his interview that you're going to hear later on. But this year, I think they have it up over 100 some again.
They did, and that was so good to see. You know, the pandemic a couple of years ago, vendors were way down actually for the Grand American, and last year they had a few more, but this year it seemed like it was really back again. It was so good to see.
Yeah, and with the vendors, obviously in good weather is going to come a walk around crowd, and it was a great weekend there in South Carolina for walk around crowd as well. Obviously, we brought forth the new rules this year, and that was a hot topic. The whole thing. It was obviously the first event with our new rule changes that we've talked about a lot on this podcast. And we brought 2 boxes of rule books this go around. That's 360 rule books, and those things got going quick, didn't they?
They did, and we could have used a few more at the end of the day. We ended up having to mail several out after we got back here, but yeah, and there was quite a few guys that came. I say quite a few, probably 10, 12 guys that came back up that I talked to anyways that had questions about a couple of the new rules, just making sure they did it right and this and that. And probably the biggest one was that a dog treeing but not declared treat. And you and I have had that conversation a lot, and we'll leave that for some other conversation maybe. But but yeah, no, it was good, and I think for the most part it worked well. I didn't hear any issues with the use of thermals or anything like that, not a one. So yeah, I think they're gonna work just fine. Yeah, and you did a great job with the rules seminar there on Friday afternoon before the hunters drew out. You did a great job with that.
I appreciate it. You kind of there before we left, you kind of left me no option but to do it. And hey, this podcast has really actually helped me a little bit in doing that and kind of explaining things. You kind of get used to being in front of a mic by doing it. Probably something that wasn't a strong suit for me at all at first, but I mean, you kind of have no choice but to get better and better at it.
I get that, and I was the same way. That's not an easy thing to do, to stand up in front of a big crowd and start talking, and then rules is a something very important. But I think you'll learn and for me if I have to be comfortable about what I'm talking about, but you did a good job, and I think you have a good grasp on the rules, and you did a fine job with it. Yeah.
And if you weren't at the Grand American, I think we have the presentation put together. I have the media team kind of cleaning it up a little bit, making the PowerPoint presentation look better. And the plan is that the events I'm at this year, like the Chartered Breed Day Associations, probably bring a TV along with me. And during their meeting, hopefully they'll give me 15 minutes to maybe go over some rules with the people there in attendance at the meeting. So if you're not planning on going one, you probably should make plans, because that would be a good way to get introduced to the rules. Yeah,
and I like the idea of having those up on a screen, because I think it just helps sometimes if you have a visual up there of what you're talking about.
Yeah. So as we kind of we talked about the hunt a little bit, numbers already, 576 hunt entries on the weekend. But let's talk about the show a little bit before we get into our individual interviews with some of the folks. A pretty good turnout for the show again. They turned it into a 2-day show a couple years back, and Danielle Champ will talk about that later in this episode. But they had 113 show entries on Friday. That's counting the licensed portion and the non-licensed portions, like the duels and the pairs. 119 on Saturday. And then in the youth show Saturday evening, they had another 52 for a total of 284 entries for the show for the weekend.
And I think they were very happy and very pleased with that. And they also had the kids show, the youth show, a licensed show after the regular shows on Saturday. And I think they're very pleased with it. And that's really become a really good show there at the Grand American for sure.
Right. And hey, the hunt probably went off smoother this year than any time that I've been there. Just as far, we have new programs in place, and we kind of threw a new program on them in the past few years different from the way they used to do it, as far as pre-drawing and confirming entries and doing that type of thing. I think they really got a grasp on it right now. Friday was as smooth as could be. Saturday, there was a lot of walk around traffic, and I think it kind of affected the internet service in there. I could not get the internet on my computer to work at all. I fought with it for over an hour. And finally, I just had to break down and tell David and the Grand American folks, hey, sorry, but we're going to have to go the old school way, and we're going to have to fill out entry slips. And, hey, the hunters, nobody batted an eye at it. They took it in stride, and, man, it was a major success.
Yeah, really. And, the way their system, their format, their system that they use for taking entries, confirming entries, and giving them their cast numbers right away, they are also, the entry takers, they're also getting very better at it. I thought this year they did a bang-up job. Just the way it just flowed, the walk-up entries, they have to come back to get their cast numbers. The way they had it set up, those ladies did an outstanding job at moving that line. And that line was long, too, but they moved them through pretty quickly. So kudos to all those involved with that. They're doing a great job.
Absolutely. That event, more than any other I go to, is a testament to a bunch of different moving parts, and everybody knows their role, and they stay kind of in their lane or expertise, and they get their job done, and that makes for a successful event in the end. And during that time, I think 1 o'clock was the treeing contest. That's always a big deal at Grand American. Did you have a chance to see it at all?
Not on Friday. I did not. Saturday, I went out there, and I forgot how huge that crowd is. That has to be the biggest crowd that you will see at any treeing contest. There's probably 500 people watching it.
Yeah.
At least, I don't know, at least 300, I would say. Yeah. You just don't see a big crowd like that around treeing contests like you do there at the Grand American. But it's a big deal.
Yeah.
The only one that might come close to that is Saluda Coon Dog Days. That was always a big thing there for that. But wow, I saw it. I went out there on Saturday, and I didn't even get up close. I thought, okay, I'm not gonna. It's like a rock concert.
You got it around there, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, it's kind of interesting. I didn't know who the winners were until after the event. We're on our way back, traveling back.
Fielder's dog won one day, didn't he?
Yeah. Steve Fielder. I did talk to him in the vendor barn one evening before we left out, and he was pretty proud of old Bear Pen Fever, who was the high scoring male there on Friday night. Looked like with 68 barks in 30 seconds. That's clicking it off.
Yeah.
But one thing I didn't realize, there's a female, Boggy Bottom Hotshot Hillary is this female's name. She's a little tree and walker. She's owned by a man named Glenn Arrington in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And she won both days. She had 73 barks in 30 seconds on Friday and 74 barks in 30 seconds on Saturday. This is her 6th year in a row that she's won the treeing contest at Grand American.
That's pretty impressive for a dog to come back year after year after year and rack them off like that.
She's clicking them off. Yeah. But man, we got a whole lot of good interviews to talk about here today. I think we got 9 good quality interviews with a bunch of people in different segments of the event of Grand American. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. Our first interview is actually going to be with Chris Harley, who won the overall night hunt champion. He's him with this dog Hard Luck's Loudmouth Big Lee. But before we get into that, we may talk about the hunt a little bit more specifically, and then bring in his interview. We talked already about entry numbers. On Friday, they hunted 303 dogs. This year, they did a little something different with their top 20 payout, which is a great thing they did. They increased their entry fee, and then they made the payout a percentage of that entry fee. And actually, the whole top 20 got $303 a piece just for making the top 20 this year.
Yeah, and there was a lot of guys that were not even aware of that got that money the next morning after they won, that they were in the top 20. They're in line to get their pictures taken. We're not aware they were getting that, and we're very pleased with that. And that's just a good deal. Same thing on Saturday night, top 20.
Yeah, top 20 got $273 each on Saturday night as well. And honestly, the cutoffs to get into each, not very bad. I mean, even without how good the weather was and how we expected the coon movement to be pretty well, 350 was a cutoff on Friday to get in the top 20, 325 on Saturday. Pretty respectable scores. A couple coons got you in.
Mm-hmm. I know Friday they had 78 total casts. I'm not sure what they ended up with on Saturday, but yeah, Friday was 78. So yeah, to get in there with that cutoff, that's good.
I rolled back into the fairgrounds about 2:15 a.m. on early Sunday morning, late Saturday night, however you want to look at it, and I was ready to see who was going to be in the final cast, who I was going to get to watch in action this year. And
they take their double cast winners after 2 nights.
Yeah, I think when I got there, they had about 16 or 17 double cast winners. I think they probably ended with like 18 or 19, so just shy of 20 double cast winners for the weekend. And the 4 highest double cast winners were Grand Night champion Hard Luck's Loudmouth Big Lee. He's a 5-year-old English male owned by Chris Harley in Orangeburg, South Carolina. There was Hickory Grove's Mako, a 6-year-old tree and walker male owned by Ashley Rankin Jr. of Saluda, South Carolina. Night champion PR Mojo's Little Easy, a tree and walker female, 4-year-old owned by Robert Crosby Jr. of Bamberg, South Carolina. And champion PR Bird's Big Time Jackpot, a 2-year-old tree and walker male owned by Charlie Bird and Evan White of Patrick, South Carolina. That kind of filled out our final cast there at the end when it was all said and done. And we had an all right hunt, just about what you'd expect at 4:00 in the morning on a full moon night in South Carolina after dogs have been run for 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours the past couple nights. They treat a couple coons.
Did you get wet?
I got a little wet, yeah. It never got above my boots, so I was surprised. I didn't feel it, but I guess maybe the waiter has a stitch out or what. I don't know, but I pulled off my waders and my jeans were soaking wet, and it was 30 degrees, so I figured out pretty quick that I was wet, but it was a fun hunt. Everybody got along, and that's the main thing. There was nobody, obviously at the end, and me and Harley will talk about it in this interview, but at the end, there was a couple bad breaks for some of them, a couple slick trees towards the end, pulled up a little short, and that left Big Lee. He didn't make the mistake, and he treed the coon, and he had a couple breaks on his side, and he ended up winning the whole thing, and that's what it takes in these major events. We talk about that all the time.
Yep, and that guy was super excited too, and a good guy, and I've heard a lot of good about his hound as well.
Yeah. So just before we get into it, in 4th place overall ended up being Mojo's Little Easy. Robert Crosby Jr. ended 350 minus on that final cast. 3rd place, History Grove's Mako, 50 minus, owned by Ashley Rankin Jr., came in 3rd. Second place with 25 plus was Bird's Big Time Jackpot with Evan White hunting the dog. And then our winner right here in this interview, Mr. Chris Harley, hunting Grand Night Champion Hard Luck's Loudmouth Big Lee. So here's Chris. All right, y'all. It's Sunday morning here in Orangeburg, South Carolina, 7:07 a.m. We just got done with the final cast, got awards pictures taken, and I'm sitting here with the big winner from the weekend, Mr. Chris Harley. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, how you doing today, Trevor?
Yeah, good.
Today, this morning.
Who knows what day it is now? It's been a long weekend, hasn't it?
Yes, sir, it has.
It all kind of worked out, though, in the end, didn't it?
Yes, sir, it sure did.
Hey, we've talked in the past about this. I know you judged this event last year. This is a kind of event here close to your home, not far away. You've had days in the past where you had big scores, and we're right there on the cusp of making it to the Final Four, and it seemed like something. There was always something that kept you out that changed this year. Can you walk us through the weekend's hunts starting Friday, and then maybe going into Saturday?
Yes, sir. Friday night. We had a big night Friday night. We scored on 6 coon Friday night, and he was under every one of them by himself. So we topped the score charts at 1275 plus. So we had a good night Friday night. Saturday night, which is the second night, we had a little rough start there, and we got in the hole a little bit on a questionable circled slick type deal, and I minus this tree, and then we treed 2 coons right out the bat after that, and then we ended up treeing one more. So I finished the night with 450, and then tonight, in the Final Four, he treed one by himself, and then I had one after the hunt was over. But
yeah, we'll get to the final cast in a second, but walk us through a little bit of your past experiences here, and how long have you been hunting this event? First off, what's your past with this event?
So I've probably been coming out here my whole life. My most memorable moments were back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was the first time I'd ever hunted this event as a young child, 12, 13 years old, and riding as a spectator, and he got his picture took on a Friday or Saturday night, and we were in the magazine, and it was black and white, but that was I still have that magazine at my house.
Absolutely.
The old Bloodlines, American Cooner at the time, but it's always been a special event. A good friend of mine won it in 2002. And it's just been a dream of mine to win this hunt. It's a hometown hunt for me. It's a huge event, and it's right here in my backyard, and it's just
hard to put into words sometimes.
Yeah, it's just a great feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we get into the final cast and how it played out, can you tell us a little bit about Big Lee? Maybe how old he is, and maybe a little bit about his bloodline and how you came about him.
Yeah, Big Lee's 5 years old. I got him when he was 16 months old. We've done a lot of hunting with him, and he's been all over the country. He's English breed leader in PKC. I've won some, obviously here the last 3 years I've won some good UKC hunts, but he's had a loudmouth JR, and a female on his bottom side actually goes back to the dog that I referred to earlier that I got my picture taken with in the Grand American when I was 12.
Yeah. Wow.
So if you chase his bottom side lineage back, he goes back to some local coon dogs from years and years ago. So I actually have my picture at my house with it. I was 14 with his one of his grandsires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, seems like not too long ago, Clayton Stark, he does some stuff, collaboration with us in the media side and with us, but he also has his own stuff. And on his on his YouTube channel, he did a feature on Big Lee just recently, right?
Yes, sir, we did.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Anybody listening to this, make sure you go to Clayton Stark's YouTube page and you kind of see Big Lee in action. Hear you talk about him a little bit and go in depth on him a little bit and see him in action. That kind of speaks louder than words if you go and see what he can do in the woods. But hey, walk us through this final cast. You got a good cast of dogs. I'm sure you're familiar with these guys. I think all of them were South Carolina guys. Is that right? I'm not 100% sure. Did you know all of them or no?
I don't recall. I believe I don't recall all of 4 of them, but I know one of them was a local guy from our club.
Yeah.
So on the final cast, we struck in for third. The dogs got deep pretty quick, and they got in there and it made a lot of noise. Like they were all about treeing, and I treed him in for third. He usually don't ever tree for other dogs, but I if he was there, I needed to be on the scorecard. So, he was further in when we got in there, and so I treated him with the other dogs, so I drew a minus. But he recovered. He got over by himself. He treated a coon. We got over to him, and which you saw he was actually in a den tree, and we were able to get him to come out.
Yeah.
So that was, talk about stars aligning for us.
Yeah.
So that was a big player in getting that coon to come out that hole. So and then I recut him, and he got off, and I got him struck in. Other dogs made some trees, and time ran out. He got treed after the hunt again. He had a coon, but that one coon was able to do it for me. He recovered from the first tree.
Yeah.
So
it's about what you'd expect from a big full moon night, 4 o'clock in the morning after these places have been run hard. These dogs have been hunted hard all weekend. And what it came down to is who could tree a coon and not make as many mistakes. And each of the other dogs, pulled some minus. Both of them treat a slick there. All 3 of the other dogs pulled a slick at the end of the cast. And Big Lee kept his nose clean and was able to pull it out.
Yeah, the minus I did draw, I told myself later on in the cast when I was walking off to him by myself that I wasn't going to beat myself over it, whether I made a mistake or he made a mistake. He was in there, but when I got in there, he wasn't. I don't know, I could hear him, but then I couldn't. So, they were a long ways away when we treat them in.
Right.
So, but, again, you're right. That Final Four is late. Coons have moved early,
Yep.
They're not on the ground, and he stayed out of trouble. Well, he was able to recover, and then later on stayed out of trouble. So,
That's right.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Even in an hour, if you can treat a coon and not pull a slick or something like that, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, you've been hunting all weekend, 2-hour hunts, and then you got that final 4-hour hunt. So it's pretty
A little bit different game plan going into that.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah. So we get back here to the fairgrounds. We're getting ready to take pictures and everything, and you got a whole crowd of people out here. You want in this picture, and can you want to talk a little bit about the people you had in the picture out here and what they mean to you?
Oh, absolutely. Obviously, my wife and my children are in with me, and several good friends of mine. They always hunt with me, and they hunt some big Lee pups and just real good friends. And then my cousin was there. He's a hunting partner. We hunted together back in years ago when I was referred to this same story. We've been coon hunting together our whole lives. And then the landowner that guided me this weekend, he was in the photo, and my cousin and I actually hunted with him. He's one of the guys that won the Grand American back in 2002.
Yeah,
and he's the guy that owns the dog, Royal Air and Lightning that Lee's lineage goes back to. So just a lot of rich history right there with a couple of us that have been hunting dogs in this line for a long time. Landowner, guide, family, friends, and obviously we had reps here from the fairgrounds and our judges.
Yeah.
We had some good judges tonight too, also.
Yeah.
So,
and they always have good judges here. And matter of fact, you was the judge of the final cast last year, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes, sir.
I believe we talked that night that you didn't mind judging, but you sure wish you was hunting instead.
I sure did. Yeah,
that kind of came full circle. But man, I know it's early in the morning. You got your kids and family. They're pulled up out of bed. They're all fired up now.
Oh, they're wide open now.
You ain't gonna get no sleep today.
I'm
but
telling you, it's gonna be
your
tough.
phone's blowing up. You're gonna have 100 messages and calls before you get out of here. But
oh yeah,
man, I'm glad we got a chance to sit down and kind of soak this up and get it on tape for everybody to hear on the podcast. And I just want to congratulate you again on your big win this weekend at the Grand American.
Well, thank you so much. That means so much to me, and it's an honor to be here. It was a lifelong dream of mine. Couldn't have done it without my loving wife and my family and my supportive group, my mother and father, and the people here who put on the event, the landowners, the UKC, everybody plays a part, and it's an honor. So it's really, I'm on cloud 9.
Allen, we both had Dogtra Pathfinder 2s now for a little while. What do you think about yours?
I'm liking mine. One of the things I had the opportunity to now download a map of an area where I did not have service, and I've used it there, and it has worked flawlessly. I love it.
Yeah, I love the crystal clear maps. I love that I never lose reception on my dog's collars anymore. Highly recommended by me as well. Dogtra Pathfinder 2, the official GPS collar partner of UKC.
Like any major event, there's a lot of folks that make up a good team, and the Grand American is certainly one of those. They have a lot of different players to make up their team, and Ashley Moss is one of those. She does a lot of the promotional end of it, their Facebook pages and this and that, and for anybody that is present at the Grand American, you can't miss Ashley. She is a go-getter, gets things done. And I had the good opportunity to sit down and talk with her. Here's Ashley. Ashley, it's almost the end of the day on Saturday. How are you? Tired?
Tired? Very tired, yes.
Yeah. So, man, we see you the last couple of years since you've been involved. We see you running around here, and it's very apparent that you have a big role at the Grand American, and there's you do a lot of things to make this event run. So tell us a little bit about what is your role and how long have you been doing this?
This is my, I think, 14th year working in the hunt office part of it. I've been coming to the Grand American 23 years that I have not missed, but since I was a kid. My dad got started working with our coon club years and years ago, so working with parking and stuff, and then I walked into the hunt office one day and Mr. David was 2-finger typing the scores in. And I said, next year, if you want somebody to do that, I'll do it for you. He was like, no, honey, take it over right now. And so then my role has grown from there over the last almost 15 years.
Yeah. So another part of it is the promotion end of it. You have a Facebook page and you do a great job with keeping up with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about where folks can go to see some of that. You promote the event there and you also have the results and all that stuff, right?
So I started last year. It's the official Grand American Facebook page, and that's what it's titled. And you can join there to see. I start usually 6 months or so before, and I start like posting little updates once a month. And then when it gets closer, I really start push out the schedule of events and stuff like that. Of course, we have the ad that goes out, and UKC puts the ad up too. But the Facebook page has really grown. We started for maybe the first little bit last year, had 600 members. And then after this weekend, as of today, we're almost at 3,500. So it's really grown quickly in the last year, but you can definitely go check it out there. And we post everything. You're welcome to post, other hunt events, try to generate stuff for your club. But then we do post the results there, pictures, stuff for sale on the grounds. And I try to keep as up to date with people's questions as I can over the weekend.
Yeah, so you do that, obviously you do a lot of that from home or whatever, but what does your weekend at the Grand American look like?
So we get here on Thursday morning. Everybody meets that works here for breakfast. And then when we get here, we're all delegated little tasks, whether it's parking, vendors. I kind of do a little bit of everything. Wherever somebody needs help, I jump in and do stuff. But on Thursday, once everything's set up, usually my husband and I also stay and do security Thursday night. So I have not left this place since I pulled in here Thursday morning.
Oh, wow.
We kind of camp out and our kids help. But then on Friday, it's full work mode. We get here again. Everybody's delegated. I'm in the hunt office printing off forms, doing stuff that they need from me. And then I help with the confirmation, with the cast. And then I do the scores in the evening as they come in. The master hounds look at it, and then I enter it all in to make it easier for everybody. I help with the pictures, trophies. We do all of it.
Oh, that's what I said. You do a whole lot of it. And it's easy. It's apparent to see that. And we really appreciate it. We kind of for some of us, we get to kind of sit back a little bit, but I think we also have a good idea of what it takes to put on a major event like this. So you notice the people and the workaholics, and you're certainly one of those.
People always tell, like even today, people are like, thank you, you do so much. And I always tell them, I'm a very small piece in a very big puzzle. I'm glad you appreciate me, but there's a whole lot of other people that do just as much, if not more than I do.
Well, you do a great job with it. What is it that you like about the Grand American the most?
the most is just the people. Like, I get to see people that I only see a couple times a year at other events because either we're separated by distance. I mean, some of them are from states away, like Danielle with the show. I mean, she comes down from Virginia. Or you guys, I love you and Trevor, and you guys come from Michigan. So I only see you guys once a year. So that's literally the fellowship and the friendships and stuff that you build is my favorite part of it. Plus, I love coon hunting. I love promoting it. I love it. I do it by myself. It's not because my husband does it. I mean, it's something that I love. So those are my two favorite, just the friendships that this sport brings together.
Yeah, well, hey, I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time. I know it's getting late, and I know you want to relax a little bit, and I'm sure you've still got some work to be done here this evening, but thanks for stopping by. But I'll give you the floor here just to wrap this up.
Oh, just everybody keep supporting the Grand American. Help us grow it. Everybody come out next year, always the first weekend in January. And we appreciate the hunters. We appreciate our vendors. We appreciate everybody. And have a good year.
Yeah, this next interview is going to be with Miss Danielle Champ, who kind of heads up the bench show portion of the Grand American. She's been doing that for a few years now. And in this interview, we talk about some of the things she's changed, some things she has on taps, and just what it takes to put on a successful bench show. So here's Danielle. All right, guys, I'm sitting here with Danielle Champ. It's Saturday at Grand American, about halfway through the show over there, probably. I know you. What is your job title here for the Grand American?
I'm the bench show coordinator.
Yeah. And how long have you been doing that now?
I think it makes me right at 4 or 5 years.
Wow. Yeah. I know just recently, probably in the past few years, right, it's when you guys decided to go to two shows rather than just one show over 2 days. Has that been in the past few years?
Last year was our first year doing it.
Yeah. And that's kind of been a pretty big hit so far, it seems like.
Yeah. I'd like to see it, continue to grow. But, yeah, it's been almost double the entries per day since we started doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, being down here on the coastline, it's probably not easy for a lot of people to get down here and travel, especially the first weekend of the year. But I think your guys' idea of having ample opportunities to compete, more than once. And then also there's the kids show, and you guys have a variety of different things that probably all goes into doing that. Has the youth show been a part of it always, or is that something that you added to?
No, I didn't add it. It's probably been 7, maybe 8 years since they started doing that.
Yeah. So this year, how's the show been going this year? Talk a little bit about, obviously Saturday's show's not over, but talk a little bit about Friday's show, who judged it, kind of entries you had, and just how the show went, I guess.
Yeah, Corey Hall judged it yesterday from Michigan. We had 115 entries. He did a really, really good job. I was really impressed with him. And then today's Misty Henson. She's from South Carolina, I believe, North or South Carolina, and we had 119 entries.
Yeah, is that just for the adult portion of the show? Is that counting the kids show as well?
That's just for the adult portion. The kids, we had 52 entries.
Yeah, a couple of long days for you guys. I know last year we were all done, wrapped up, packed up over here in the hunt building on Saturday afternoon, and we went over there, and you guys were still trucking away. So it's kind of a long one today for sure. With you guys have unlicensed pairs and duels, and then you got the licensed portion of the normal show, and then you got the kids show after. So I guess you're expecting to be here well into the evening, huh?
Yeah. We don't get home till really late.
Yeah. Hey, one of the things I've got a lot of questions about this weekend from people is about how you guys award the overall Grand American Bench Show champion. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Yeah, so your 6 category winners from each day get to come back and compete for overall. We do it on a panel. The overall is judged by panel, and it's Friday's judge, Saturday's judge, and then someone else that, myself or the board picks. Hopefully, we have someone in mind today that we'll use, and then they do it they don't talk at all. They just do it on a paper and rate them.
Kind of a scoring scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of have an idea of who you're picking today. You probably could have did a little bit better than what you picked today for the third, but no, it sounds like Allen Gingrich is doing it, so he'll of course be good. He's good at that kind of stuff. But hey, let's talk about you a little bit. Outside of being part of the Grand American, you're also a big part of the Tree and Walker Association. You wear a lot of different hats across, and been bench show judging quite a bit lately. I know last year you judged probably one of your first of the major events, right?
Yeah.
One of the ones that we put on at the Winter Classic last year. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was a big judging assignment, and It was super fun. Got a lot of really nice dogs.
Yeah.
I've been doing it. I've been showing for 16 years. I couldn't even tell you when I got my license. It's been a long time ago, but finally, got the opportunity. Like I told you the other day, you always want the dream to, as a judge, to get to judge the big events, and I was super excited and blessed and humbled, and to have the opportunity to get to do it.
Yeah. So 2022, you judge Winter Classic. You are a Saturday judge, so that means you judged on the top 10 panel on Friday night, and then you judged Champions Grands and picked the overall winner at the Winter Classic this past year. And when Allen and I met earlier this year, late in 2022, about who we wanted to assign or asked if they were interested in judging the major events this year, your name was at the top of the discussions. Just from all the feedback we got from Winter Classic, seems like everybody liked and appreciated how you judged. You gave every dog a fair look and all that stuff. So I guess we've already announced it on the podcast, but you accepted a judging assignment for Autumn Oaks this year.
Yeah.
Not sure exactly what you're going to be judging there, but obviously you'll be judging both days. So kind of talk a little bit about that. That's probably one of the 2 top judging assignments of the year, I would say, right?
Yeah, that's like I told you, that's been my dream since I decided to become a bench show judge. But I'm so excited to do it. I got to get some comfy shoes, to wear 2 days. But,
long days.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I can't wait to get my hands on some dogs. I hope a lot of people come out and give me the opportunity to let me look at their dogs, and I'm so excited. I got it planned already. And I'm super excited to judge alongside Eric. I think he's a great addition as well.
Yeah. Hey, I think I speak for everybody that we sure appreciate all the work you put in on the state level, on the local level, on the breed association level, major events like this, judging at major events. So I appreciate you sitting down with me, talking a little bit about it, and I appreciate it. I hope the rest of the show goes good over there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
This next interview is with Miss Kelly Myers from New Florence, Pennsylvania. She was the big winner in the bench show for the weekend with her hound, Champion Gilman's Good Time Blues. He's a 2-year-old male, black and tan. She won Champion male both days with him and ended up bringing home the overall in the finals. So here's your interview with Kelly. Well, I'm sitting here with the big winner from today's bench show from the weekend, Kelly Myers. Kelly, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Yeah, you guys just wrapped up the bench show just shortly ago, and you and Black and Tan, Gilman's Good Time Blues, brought home the overall Grand American Champion.
Yeah, actually, this is our first show out together. So we've had them since August. We got them from David and Misty Arrington and David Gilman in Illinois. And like I said, we got him in August from them, and this is our first show together. So I think we're so far a pretty good team.
Yeah, right offhand, do you know what his lineage is, what he's out of?
Yeah, so his sire is Good Time Charlie. He goes back to the 2-time national grand Sonny.
Mm-hmm.
And then on his bottom side, his dam goes back to some of Terry Dolbear, some of her line.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's bred pretty good.
Yeah, he's got it in there. Yeah. So I know your husband Dave is kind of synonymous with the black and tan breed. Always has. Him and Doc Holliday had a good run here the past half decade or more. But usually we see you handling tricolor Walker dogs, right? What's happening? Is he starting to convert you a little bit, or what?
I think so. Yeah, we have I feel like the Walkers, it's a tough breed for sure. So I just kind of wanted to try something different this weekend. I mean, I still have my Walker, definitely bringing her to Winter Classic. But it was just kind of fun to concentrate on a different breed this weekend. Yeah. And I mean, we were super successful, and we're just looking forward to maybe kind of trying to concentrate on that breed a little bit more than the Walkers. So, but we had a great time with them this weekend for sure. So
doesn't sound like you're 100% convinced on giving up on them just yet, but
no,
no. So Grand American, tell me, have you shown here quite a bit in the past? Is this one you usually try to hit?
Yeah, it's actually one of my favorite events. Like, it's the first one of the year. We've pretty much come every single year. Probably since I've been here every year, probably since like 2011, 2010. Dave did judge it one year, a couple years ago, so we didn't show. We didn't make it last year. I think the weather played a part into that. I think we were getting like some kind of storm. And then actually this year we didn't plan on coming because, if we go to Winter Classic, that's a pretty long drive for us. So usually, what we just kind of decided was if we're going to go to Winter Classic, we weren't going to go to Grand American, but Blue kind of changed our minds because he's been looking really good at home. And I said, the weather's supposed to be pretty decent. Why don't we try to, make a trip down there? And obviously it paid off for us.
Yeah, man. Speaking of the weekend, it's just been an absolutely beautiful weekend. I think
Yeah.
we've both been down here when it's been less than ideal.
Yeah,
So
most
this
of the
week
time.
it's kind of an outlier.
It's beautiful. It really has been really nice. Like usually it's either raining, windy, but even the mud has kind of been, on the low end, which is usually not the case here for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Absolutely. So you're starting to push this hound now. Is your plan to push him pretty hard this year? Now that you got this in your back pocket, you've racked up quite a few points in different year-long points races, I guess.
right. Yeah. That definitely makes you think, because double category winner this weekend. That's really good. And he's, got a lot of top 10 points already, which is really good for this year so far. So I don't know. It definitely has our wheels turning, whether or not we're going to be shown at Winter Classic when we go, make sure we go to that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of excited about him for sure. He really, really exceeded my expectations this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, hey, it's been good. I appreciate you coming here and sitting down with me a little bit. I know it's a little nervous for the first time, but
Yeah.
hey, you did really good. We have to have you on again, but I just want to congratulate you guys on the big win. Appreciate you guys always being supportive of the events, and I want to wish you guys luck moving forward.
All right, great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
My very first interview this year at the Grand American was a young man who I know he and his sister do listen to our podcast. We've dropped their names a couple times. Jacob Brooks from Pounding Mill, Virginia. He was there with his sister and his mom showing dogs. And I just got the system set up, and I thought, man, there's Jacob right there. I think he's a good one to start us off with and test the system. So, and as it turned out, he ends up winning the youth show. With a little English dog named Will's Mountain Dusty Roads. It's a 3-year-old that he showed. And this dog is off a Will's Mountain Bullberry, a dog that I remember has done a lot of winning at major events. And then the same with the Dam, Melrose Mountain Hint of Jasmine. So this dog's bred up to win and to have good conformation and everything. So it just turned out I had a chance to sit down with Jacob. So here he is. And at this time, this was before the win, but here's our conversation with Jacob Brooks. Well, good morning, Jacob. How are you?
All right, you?
Good. We're here at the Grand American on Saturday morning. I'm here with Jacob Brooks from Virginia. Jacob, how old are you?
15.
15.
Yes, sir.
So how long have you been coming to the Grand American?
For about 5 years now, say.
Oh, yeah. That's it's always a good time. First major event of the year.
Yeah.
So how long have you been showing dogs, period? How long have you been showing dogs?
No, I've been showing probably since I start walking. I remember I got my first walker puppy here.
Yeah. Well, that's everybody knows your mom and dad,
Yeah.
Eric and Leslie Brooks, and hunting and showing walkers. Your dad hunts a lot, and actually he's judging. He's judged shows for us, does a bunch of judging, as does your mom. But walkers. But here lately, you have got you've kind of stepped aside a little bit. Tell us about this dog that you now have, and tell us a little bit about her.
Well, Bobby Sue, she's English female. Mike Seats actually gave her to me before his Bobby Lou female died. I've kept her. I've done everything with her. She's like my best friend. I do everything I can with her, taught her a lot of stuff. She's probably my favorite dog right now. I have the show right now.
Yeah, well, I've seen yesterday. I went out to the show on Friday, and I watched you show in your class, and you can tell you guys are you're clicked together. You can tell that you have a good connection with your dog there. But what is it that you like best about Bobby Sue?
Her just temperament and her will to go do it. She just wants to please you in which way she can.
Yeah. And here's your time to brag about some of the bigger wins that you got with her.
Well, I've won opposite sex National Grand Autumn Oaks, and I won Queen of Show at English Days and the Vicky Hill Memorial there.
Oh, that's got to be so sweet.
It is.
And you got her as a puppy, right?
Got her as a puppy, yeah.
So, geez, yeah, that's just amazing. So, yesterday you showed in the show. How did you do yesterday? Did you have any luck yesterday with her?
I won Grand English female with her yesterday.
Oh, yeah, good. Good deal.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So this morning, this is still early. This is about probably 9:30 right now. So the show's going to start here in another half hour or so. So what do you got? They have an adult show today, and then they also have a youth show, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's going to start here at 10
Mhm.
o'clock. So what are you going to show in both shows?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mhm.
Tell us a little. What do you know about the youth show that they have here? What's that about here?
It's all they love to get the kids involved. It's probably one of the best youth shows aside from the nationals and stuff like that. Those are probably the best 2 youth shows. They always try to put on something good for the kids to walk away with.
Yeah. Is your dad here as well today?
He is not.
He's not here?
No.
Okay, I saw your mom earlier
Yeah.
this morning, but yeah, it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day
Oh,
today.
yeah.
And so what is it about this event that you like the most?
The most. It's first event of the year, so you got a lot of people coming out to get started, just meeting up with everybody after the new year and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's probably for a major event. It's probably
Yeah.
not that far from you guys. A lot
Yeah.
of the events that you go to are like Autumn Oaks, and some of
Yeah.
those are a lot further.
Oh,
than
yeah,
this
they
one.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else do you do with your dogs outside of just showing them? Do you hunt? Do you hunt Bobby Sue?
Yeah, I
or
do. I
you?
take her hunting, yep.
Yeah. So how often do you get to hunt?
It's just about, depends on Dad's work schedule. Most of
Yeah.
them ain't get to go.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't drive yet.
No,
What, another year? You got another year to go before you
Yeah.
get your license?
gotta hold that learns for a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you do hunt? Have you competed in a night hunt before at all or not?
Not with Bobby Sue, I have not, but
Yeah.
I've
With
done
other
others.
dogs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So do you hunt Bobby Sue as well or no?
I take her like just hunting regularly, not
Yeah.
try competition.
Yeah.
Got
So you don't
buddy
really have
hunting.
plans to competition hunt her much?
No,
Yeah.
she not really interested in the tree and part. Loves
Yeah.
the track though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
her favorite part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, hey, maybe some of my best dogs didn't start wouldn't tree very early
Yeah.
either, so you never know.
Maybe we keep taking her though.
Yeah, so you got today to show here yet. What other plans do you have coming down the road as far as other events you plan to take her to? You kind of set a
Yeah.
schedule. You kind of have
Yeah, I've
a
got
plan ahead of
Yeah.
So what's that look
Probably
like?
the
If you
next-
can tell us.
Oh, I can.
Yeah.
Probably the next one she'll go to is probably the Winter Classic where she's in the top 10 and stuff. We'll take her down there, let her show in that one. And probably just do a couple, like the state shows and youth events here and there. And I can't do the Autumn Oaks of the world this year. So
Yeah, I know your
yeah.
dad's gonna judge there, so that
Yeah.
kind of takes you out of
Yeah,
it.
it takes you out of that. It's probably
Yeah.
our 2 biggest one. Of course, we go to English days.
Oh yeah. Well, good deal. Well, I won't hold you up, Jacob, any
Alright.
longer. I know you want to get over to the
Mhm.
show ring, get everything going there. But
Yeah.
thank you for stopping in this morning and enjoy your time here at the Grand American.
Thank you for having me. You too.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to say congratulations to Jacob and everyone who did good in the bench show this weekend. Not easy to win anything at a bench show of this magnitude. So whether you brought home a class win, a breed win, or an overall win, congratulations to you. I look forward to seeing the pictures come out in the Coonhound bloodlines and all over the website. So congratulations to everyone.
Hey, Trevor, how about those wait times in the registration queue these days?
That department's done an awesome job cutting down on call queue wait times, shortening the length of time between emails, and the chat feature is still a short, valuable option.
And those times have went down to nothing. These days, there is hardly any wait time at all.
Right. And you're able to get a hold of those departments from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time now, Monday through Friday. Shifting the focus a little bit more to the hunt here. I had a chance late Saturday evening after cast had been called out to sit down with Mr. John Sapier and Dale Weatherford. If you're not familiar with them, they've been the master of hounds for the Grand American ever since I started going back in 2020. They probably have the most thankless job of the weekend in there, putting together these casts and making difficult decisions when questions come in. And we talked about that a little bit right here with Dale and John. Enjoy this interview. Hey guys, this is Trevor here back Saturday evening at the Grand American, and I'm joined by the two guys of the hour, the event officials for the weekend, Master of Hounds, Dale Weatherford and John Sapier. How you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Doing good.
Yeah, it's kind of a long weekend for you guys, but it's winding down a little bit now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting near daylight Sunday morning.
Yep.
So, hey, Dale, I'll start with you. How long have you been affiliated with the Grand American? Coming to it, or just period? How long have you been coming to the Grand American, I guess?
Well, I am 57, so probably since a teenager.
Wow. Yeah. And how long have you been affiliated with it in official capacity? Either being an event official or in other capacities, I guess.
I would say since being in the 1980s.
Yeah. And you've been the Master of Hounds for it that long, or?
No. I would say How many years?
10 or
When
15?
David, yeah,
Yeah. He said maybe.
about 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And John, what about you? You've been coming to this thing for a while too?
Yes, I grew up not far from here, and my uncle that hunted in the event, and we came to the event when it was back in the early 70s, late 70s, and moved away to the upstate of South Carolina, and then came back and participated in the bench show competition and handled my dogs in the hunt. And as recently as like 6 years ago, I was asked to fill in for one of the guys doing the announcing for the bench show, and then from that, I started with working with Dale and David and the guys doing the master hounds for the event.
Yeah.
So about 5 to 6 years ago.
Yeah. So you guys kind of tag team the weekend, right? Somebody's the lead man one night and the other one's the lead man the other night.
Yes.
What do you guys draw straws on that or what?
We just, one of us take it one night and one,
Yeah.
we just decide.
Yeah. Hey, you know, one unique thing about the Grand American, it's always the first weekend of the year. And in years like this, that's a rule change year. It's always the kickoff point for the rules. And everybody says, oh, goodness, it's going to be kind of a rough weekend. But I know I was here in 2020 in that rule change year. We had quite a few rule changes that year and was really worried about how that was going to turn out. And then again, this year, we had 5 or 6 running rule changes. And, you know, people talk about having a lot of questions come back. Is that the case, or is that kind of a misconception?
We had a few people ask questions, but really, we didn't have many problems at all with it.
Yeah, I don't believe we actually had maybe less than half the questions that we entertained were related to the new rules. Most of the guys kind of picked up on that.
Yeah.
Some of them were old, just general rules that they've not been familiar with applying. And so you know, the new rules last night seemed to be not a problem for the guys out in the woods. There's, you know, I think a little bit of reading the scorecard cleared up a lot of their own questions.
Yeah. And I guess probably the main thing, and I think any event official can probably attest to this, is that picking quality judges is probably the main thing. And one thing that we see so often in the Great American, people sticking around to the end of the cast can make a huge difference in having a successful hunt. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yes, that's definitely true.
Yeah. So I've worked with you guys there in the back room a couple of times, and you guys have kind of a flawless system where you work together. It's not just a host club with satellite clubs where you send other clubs. You guys have a team of clubs in the area that work together, getting guides together, you know, making sure there's quality places to go. Can either of you guys talk a little bit about that process and how that works?
I believe the system gets refined a little bit every year, and even before I came along, they had made changes from what it used to be back in the day, and it's cut down on a lot of confusion and the prep time. And like I think David may have alluded to in some of his earlier comments he's made, that you never stop planning for the next Grand American. Next year's planning started last night with some roundtable discussions at the table after the crowd was gone, and the club reps are really on top of their game with their local guides, and they know who has better hunting. And with the weather down here, you don't know that flood waters, you know, rivers, you know, water rising and stuff like that, you know, who's got the better land, and they can adjust their guide base to satisfy safe hunting.
Yeah. So really, instead of, you know, this hub here in Orangeburg, back there, you guys really aren't stressing about the guides as much as the surrounding clubs, 15 or 16 clubs, I think it is, that work together, getting the guides together. That's kind of what makes this event unique, right? It's the community of clubs around here. And you guys have been working with these clubs a lot over the years, so that it's kind of a refined system, I think, in that way, and it's unique in that way. And yeah, you guys do an awesome job putting the event on. So I guess this event means a lot to you guys. Can, just in closing a little bit, can you take turns talking about maybe what this event means to you?
Well, it's I've been here since I was a kid, and it's just been, you know, every year a lot of people look forward to it, and they just it's just it helps the county and the city and all to bring in people, and you get to meet and see different people and talk to different people and from all over the state.
It brings in a lot of different people, a lot of revenue for the place, but you get to meet a lot of new people here and see a lot of old friends. John, what do you have to say about the event?
I would say, you know, with this happening the first weekend in January every year, that a lot of people come off the Christmas season, and this is like their second Christmas for a lot of the outdoors guys that are not just coon hunters, but guys that run rabbit dogs, fox dogs, whatever, and hog dogs. These guys are shopping when they come here, and the fairgrounds had over 100 vendors this weekend, and everybody had plenty to choose from. The dealers, I think they had a great weekend, and I believe, the meeting of the old friends and some of the founders, basically the guys that were here that started really in the early 60s and 70s that made the Grand American in its infancy, created this big event. It's a testament to those guys. Some of these old timers are still around.
Yep.
And it's gratifying to see the guys that are in their 80s and 90s still able to get out and enjoy it, and you can go shake their hands. Because I remember when I was a kid, like Harris Varner and Charles Harrelson, those guys, were always around, and you didn't know them as a kid, but now as adults, you work with them, and then now we're taking their legacy and taking it on to the next century.
Yeah. Hey, I couldn't agree with you guys more. It's the kicking off point for the coonhound competition season. Starts the year off right. Everybody always looks forward to the Grand American, whether it's somebody in the South who wants a shorter commute to a major event, or you live up north and you just want to get away from the cold for a couple of days. And we've had really great weather this weekend. I know that's not always the case, and oftentimes it's not the case, but this weekend's been the exception. But hey, a lot of people forget about event officials and master hounds at events like this, but they're kind of the key cog in making it work. Somebody's got to do it, and kind of an unheralded position. But I just want you guys to know that we sure appreciate you from UKC, and I know the hunters do as well, taking time out of your day, being here from early in the morning till early in the morning the next day.
That is correct.
So, man, I sure appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you sitting down with me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
On Saturday afternoon, I was very pleasantly surprised by a fellow that walked up to our table there at the hunting ops table there in the headquarters building, Mr. Scotty Knupp. Scotty is a young man that he's kind of been out of the sport for a little bit, but he showed up there, and it's somebody I remember from the very first youth nationals I went to in Medina, Ohio. And he'd come to youth nationals for, until he timed out. And he was from Virginia, and he's a young man that I always remembered, and he was just fun to be around. He kind of tagged around me at all these youth events, or the youth nationals especially, and really got to know him. I hadn't seen him in so many years, and it was so good to see him. He had his girlfriend with him, and I got him in the podcast booth, and we talked a little bit about some of the old days. And so here's Scotty. Well, here we are Saturday afternoon at the Grand American, and I met an older gentleman that used to be a young kid, used to be very involved in our youth programs. Mr. Scotty Knupp, man, it is so good to see you.
Thanks, Alan. It's great to see you, too. It's been a long time.
Yeah, gosh, I couldn't believe it. I walked into the headquarters building, and boom, there's Scotty standing there.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that it's been 10 years since I last been here, and it's amazing how fast time flies by.
Yeah. So, and what's really interesting, you just bring back these memories. In today's world, we have kids that started out in our youth program, and they now are their kids are coming to youth nationals, and their kids are participating. That is so cool to me.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see that, and even people that was in the next new generation when actually you started it and contacted us, and seeing those same people showing dogs today,
yeah,
and seeing those people compete at still today is pretty exciting, and just seeing the future of our sport coming together, it's amazing.
Yeah, so I know life changes, and things change, and so what's been happening with you here in the last 10, 15 years?
Yeah, just working. I kind of got out, probably 15 years ago. Just because you need to get your life together a little bit. We do life things, work, and
you were doing a little fishing at one time.
Yeah,
too.
Doing a lot of catfishing. I enjoyed that. That was my new hobby I got into. But now I want to get back into coon hunting. I missed it. I missed seeing the old faces and meeting new faces. That's one great thing about this sport. You can meet new people, and they can be a connection for a lifetime as well.
Yeah. The one thing I remember from you when I started my first year youth nationals was in 2005, and I think you were there. That's when I first met you, and for some reason, I always remembered you, and I'm not sure why. Yeah. I think you were very outgoing as a little kid, about 14, 15 years old, and And I don't know. I just remember a lot of those kids at that age, and it's
Yeah.
just good to see where you've what you've grown into. But who's this young lady that's with you here?
Yeah,
today?
that's my girlfriend, Jerica. She's a big supporter.
Hello.
Yeah.
So Scotty, actually, we kind of hit it off talking about coon hunting. He used to talk to me, and we would kind of communicate back and forth. And then I said, well, my brother used to have a coon dog. Her name was Maybelline. And he said, wait a minute, you know about coon hunting? And since then, Scotty fell in love.
That was points right
Yeah.
there.
That was brownie points.
We
But
went
I
up
wanna
the
go back
cool
real
ladder
quick.
right there.
I want to go back real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah.
When you met me, that
Yeah.
was in Medina, Ohio.
It was Medina. It sure was.
At the
Sure was.
at the UKC Youth Nationals, and from that point on, I think that's when Cole Vanover, Joe Moore, and Bridget Clary. That's when we all, that I felt like that is when we really took off, and we, that's when we found our love for the hounds and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But me and Jerica, when we started talking about coon dogs, and she knew about it, beautiful thing like that, knew about coon hunting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just I had to go head over heels.
Yeah. So we were back in Medina again this last year for the Youth Nationals.
Very nice.
First time since that very
That's
first time.
great.
But remember, we had they had a lake out there, a little pond out there.
Yeah,
we had lifeguards out there, and I think we opened the pond up for you kids to swim.
Oh,
and
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's
things
the
like
future
that.
of our sport.
It is.
It's
But
great
you
to have.
remember we had a band playing there on the first night. It had a dinner thing,
It sure did.
Remember had a band playing out there. You remember those
I
young
do.
kids and
Yeah.
their parents? I think
I sure did.
that was Daniel Patrick. Remember him?
I do.
He was like 10 years old, I think,
And he sounded good.
He did. He was a great banjo picker, and his little sister. But you should see them now. Have you ever kept up with any of them?
I haven't, but I
Oh,
would
he is-
definitely
he is-
YouTube them.
Yeah, check him out. He is so good now. He's been playing in Nashville and playing with
Oh,
the
wow.
big stars. He's a big deal.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'll
And-
definitely check them out on the way
Yeah.
back home.
Yeah, and his sister, but they played there, but they were just younger kids too. But
Yeah.
yeah, so many good things from that. But so moving forward, here you are at the Grand American. When's the last time you were here?
It's been a good 10, 15 years, probably
Yeah.
15 years at the most.
Yeah.
It's still great to see the large crowd coming out, to have it here in Orangeburg. When I think about Grand American, I think of it as a prestige hunt, just like in racing, the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
And that's how I think about the Grand American.
Yeah. First big event of the year.
It is.
Yeah.
It kicks it off.
Yeah.
It's nice and cool weather. Just low country here. If you come from up north, you got to have a dog that can hunt in water, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of things to take advantage of here. But man, UKC's come a long ways. I think it's great, and everybody's still in the sport doing good.
Yeah. When we talked about 2005, time has flown, but that's already been 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Hard to
Sure
believe
is.
time just flies.
I
by.
told her next year. I said I really got the itch to come back in 2024 and have a dog in my hand and leading it. So
Yeah, we were talking earlier, and you said you're kind of looking for a dog getting back into it.
yeah,
a little bit.
absolutely.
That'll be good.
I
yeah.
hope so.
Yeah.
So
So, what do you think of it, Jerica?
Well,
You
I
not
was
opposed to it?
well, no, actually not, because I've really grown up in this.
Yeah.
Dogs has been a big part of my life, and I'm excited. But I've known about a Grand American all my life, but didn't realize how big it was until Scotty Knupp.
Yeah.
And then he was explaining everything to me, and I was like, wow,
yeah, she didn't know anything about the rule part, and
the points.
the point system.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's funny while we're sitting on the couch, I'll be like giving her different scenarios of like how to call the dog and how not to call it, and
Right.
and say if you got a split tree and all that. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's cool to have someone that likes the sport as much
Yeah.
as you do.
We
Yeah.
sit there and I'm like, okay, what about if Lenny barks first? He's like, all right, Lenny open or Lenny strike. And I'm like, okay. So I'm learning all these different terminologies.
Yeah, and you got to strike them on her before the third bark. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, well, hey, I know you guys want to get to walking around here. It's getting later in the afternoon here on Saturday, so I know you guys want to walk around a little bit. But I really appreciate both of you sitting down
It was a
and
pleasure.
chatting a little bit.
Man,
here.
thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's so good to see you, man, and we hope to see you at more events. Come to Autumn Oaks Winter Classic,
Yeah,
Autumn Oaks.
we'd love to.
Yeah,
We'd love to.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so hope to see you guys. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan.
Our next interview is going to be with Bryce Matthews from Indiana. I met up with him on Saturday morning. He got he was in lineup for pictures there on Saturday morning. and he just snuck in 20th place with a young dog he was hunting. And I started talking to him a little bit. We know him from the World Championship, where he's kind of Automokes in last year's World Championship. He really lucked out with a dog named Jed. It was just on a winning streak with a dog that he was hunting for somebody else, and it just seems he's had a lot of good luck lately. And here he goes to the Grand American with somebody else's dog again. Very little hunting and wins again. Just sneaks in the top 20 here. So I got him back in the podcast booth. And so here's our interview with Bryce Matthews. Morning, Bryce. How are you today?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. I just saw you out here in the lineup, and I grabbed you. I grabbed you from the top 20 lineup out here, taking pictures this morning.
Yeah.
Saturday morning.
Yeah, we barely slid through, but we're there.
Yeah. So first time at the Grand American?
No, this is actually my second time. We came down last year, had a good time, so decided to come back again.
Yeah. So what dog are you hunting here?
Hunting Bill's Wild Bear. He's out of Mr. Clean's Wild Bill.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a 1-year-old Treeing Walker.
Yeah, I saw him out here. He looks very young still.
Yeah, I think he's only 16 months old.
Oh,
so
yeah, really?
Placed 20th out of 300 and something dogs. Was a nice deal.
Yeah, so 20th place, so we'll get into that in a minute, but how'd your hunt go?
It went well. The first hour and a half was kind of slow. A couple dogs got in a brush pile, dug them out of that, and then treated a couple circle trees. We didn't even score on a coon until the last 30 minutes, and we must have gotten a hot spot, and he put 2 up pretty quick in the last 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah. So how long have you had him?
About 4 days.
Oh, yeah. Really? Jeez. You're kind of known for that. Just grab a dog and go win.
It seems to be the trend here lately. The last several dogs I've won with, I haven't had for very long. So
what's the deal with this one? Are you going to have him for a while or what?
No, I don't think so. My buddy Shane Smith owns him. Shane's been really good to me. He and I are great buddies. He had this dog that he wanted to bring down here and asked me if I was hunting anything. I told him no. And, he said he'd hunt him up for me and get him to me. So that's what he did. Shane's been putting in the legwork. He got him tuned up and ready to go. I got the dog hunting him one night for pleasure hunting, and then we come on down here. So,
man, you're the guy to hire. I'm telling you, your luck is on your side. I'm telling you.
Hey, I don't want it to run out anytime soon. I'm gonna keep rolling.
Yeah. So, top 20. You got in the top 20. You placed 20. What kind of a score did you have last night?
We had 350 plus.
350.
Yep.
That's not bad. Last night they had a great turnout. I think they sent 303 dogs to the woods on Friday night.
Yeah.
They do walk-ups here, and I could not believe the number of walk-ups. They had 133, I think.
Right, yeah. I didn't even get to see the registration building and see what the line was like. I was at the booth all day yesterday, never left. So
yeah.
I heard there was a good turnout. I heard there was a lot of walk-ups, but, I didn't get to see it, which is part of it. But yeah, I'm glad you had a good turnout.
Yeah, so a grand total of 78 casts. So where did you hunt close? Where'd you hunt?
No, we drove about an hour to Madden, I believe it was.
Okay.
Madden, South Carolina.
What direction is that?
It was northeast.
Okay.
From here. Yep.
Yeah, so 2 times at the Grand American. What would you say about the hunting? How would you describe the hunting here?
I would say
different than back home.
Yeah, it's a little tougher than back home, I would say.
And back home is
Peru, Indiana.
Yeah.
So northern Indiana.
Yeah.
Up there we were lucky we have plentiful coons, and down here it seems like we struggle a little bit. To get on the coons. We found a little spot, that had them in it. We saw the 2 that we treed, and then we saw a couple more sitting up. So it seemed like they were congregating in one area. Like I said, the first hour and a half was pretty quiet.
Yeah.
So,
did you get in any water?
No, not bad. Really? It was the worst we got in was ankle deep across a couple creeks. Nothing bad at all. No, we had pretty good flat hunting, really.
Yeah, the weather was so nice yesterday too. Last night, the only thing, it was bright. It was basically full moon. Looks like full moon. I'm not. Yeah, has to be close to it, but yeah.
Yeah, it was bright. The coons weren't looking. The 2 coons that I scored on, I found with my thermal. New rule, 2023.
Really? Yeah.
So they weren't looking.
How do you think that's going to go?
I think it's great. I think it's a great addition.
Do you hear guys talking about it?
Yeah. I was the only one on the cast with one last night.
Really?
And, guys, hey, we shine the street. Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah.
So,
what about any of the new rules? Did those come into play or make a difference in the cast, or was it anything you talked about last night?
Not necessarily. We did a brief overview. I was a judge last night on the cast. So before we cut the dogs loose, I just reminded everybody there was a few rule changes that took place. If anybody had any questions, let me know what they were, and we'd try to handle them right there in the woods. But I just did let them know that it was 2023, so the new rules are in effect.
Yeah, were you in the clubhouse last night when Trevor went over everything before draw out? Or
I was not. Like I said, I never left the booth yesterday.
Yeah.
We've been making collars all weekend, so I didn't get to leave.
Yeah, we had a good crowd in there. Trevor did a good job of kind of going and briefing all the hunters on those that were in there on the new rules. So, yeah, always want to hear feedback from the hunters to see how they're working and everything. I think for the most part they're pretty simple, but so yeah. Well, any more plans for this young dog here or what?
I don't think so. We're gonna hunt him again tonight and try and double up, and then I think he's gonna go back to Shane.
Yeah.
Shane really likes him. His boy claims the dog, so
Yeah.
we're gonna let him hunt him. a
Hey,
little
I
bit.
don't know if you're aware or not, but they take a certain amount of money from all the entry fees and pay it out to that top 20. They
Yeah.
told me, David McKee told me the payout was $303 for the top 20 every cast winner,
Yeah.
$330.
Yeah, I walked up there 20th place, signed on the dotted line, and got some cash. So it was
Yeah,
nice.
heck yeah, that makes it nice. $300 for a cast win down here in the top 20.
Can't beat it. It's
Yep.
worth the trip.
Hey, I know you got things going on this morning, but congratulations on your win. Enjoy the rest of your weekend here.
I appreciate it, Alan. Thank you.
All right. And getting into our final interview here, we hope you guys have enjoyed this. We always enjoy conducting these interviews. We were getting towards Saturday afternoon, and I wasn't sure we were even going to get any. It was kind of a busy weekend. But we finally were able to get a few done, and I think this one here was our longest one, obviously, and it's with somebody that you're very familiar with, Mr. David McKee. You want to talk about David a little bit?
Yeah, you talk about busy. There's a lot of busy people, but probably none more so than David, but he was more than willing to sit down with us, and it was a really good discussion with him and conversation with David. He talks a lot about how they run the event and all the help that they have and this and that. And you also sat down, so there was the three of us, you, David, and I. And so, yeah, here's David talking about the Grand American, just kind of an overview of the event and his thoughts on it and everything. And this is what we're going to close out this podcast with David McKee. Well, Mr. David, here we are Saturday afternoon, the Grand American. We've got the cast called out, and most of them are headed meeting up with their casts. And it's been a great couple days. Weather has been good, but what are your thoughts about now?
I am very pleased with this weekend. Very pleased. Minimal problems. Great, like you said, great weather, and a really, really great turnout for the hunt.
It has been
Yes.
been a good turnout.
333 last night and 273 tonight. Great.
Yeah. So before we get into this, how long have you been involved with the Grand American? You're the current president, but how long have you been involved with the Grand American?
I've been involved with it since 1992. Before that, I hunted or judged. Back in the beginning, I think the first time I hunted in it was in '76, and back then it was still non-hunting judges. So as I got older, I was 16 the first time I hunted in it. I think 79, I won my cast. Still got that trophy at the house. One of those that you just hang on to.
Yeah.
Actually, you probably remember these old metal trophies.
Yeah, I sure do.
Yeah, not plastic.
Yeah.
So still got that one in my office. That's pretty good. And back in those days, we hunted 300 something dogs both nights regularly.
Yeah.
But in the 90s, I did the Master of Hounds up until I was elected president, and I think this is my 15th year as president, 14th year. I'm not sure.
Wow, it hasn't been that long.
I think so.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, but that's what one of them in the office was telling me. We was actually the Master Hounds tonight. Dale Weatherford. He said I took over, started doing the Master of Hounds whenever you were selected president. And he said, and I think I've been doing it 14 or 15 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. See, this was my very first event for UKC. There's a couple things that I remember about this. I was excited, to go to my first major event, and I knew that UKC just got involved with it again that year.
Yeah.
Todd Kellum and I flew down there.
Yep.
And I remember they put us in this little building over here on the side. It was full and everything kind of there in the aisleway.
Yeah.
And it was not really what I had expected, but then a year or two later, we moved over here to the headquarters building. But the other thing that I will say, and this is not the Allen show here, I apologize, but I got a little story.
No.
So we had flown down here, and at the time I lived in Indiana still, so I had Indiana plates and everything. So I get back to the office. Kellum drops me off at the office on Sunday night after we fly back. It's already dark and everything. And I go back I have a key to get in the office, and I get in there, and I'm still green. I've only been there for about a month and a half at this point, and the alarm system goes off at UKC. And here I am. I don't know anything. I don't know what the code is, nothing. And it's, in no time, I walk outside and I've got a vehicle parked in the parking lot with Indiana plates, and this is, not looking good for me. I've got a lot of splaining to do.
Yeah.
And we've got a backyard fence there, and a cop comes in from the front, moving in. And there's one coming and clears, jumps the fence in the back, and they've got me cornered. So I'm like, hey, they're looking at my truck, and, Indiana, what are you doing here? And I'm like, but I had a key to get in, and I had to kind of take him to my desk, and that's where I could show him some identification. But that was, I always remembered, that was my first experience of the Grand American as far as UKC. But all that aside, all good stuff. But so you mentioned back in the day when you were involved, you had to have non-hunting judges. Can you imagine that if you still had to do all that today?
No, absolutely
It'd be
not.
nearly impossible. Wouldn't
Yes, it's how many years has it been since we stopped doing it at the local level?
Well, late 80s, early 90s, pretty much.
Yeah, and to have to go back to that now, I don't think we could.
Yeah.
I don't think we could. The caliber, not the caliber of hunter, but the participation at the club level has changed significantly.
Right.
A lot of the younger people they don't belong to clubs and stuff. So, I don't think we could do it.
Yeah.
I know at our local club, we used to have a list, this hunt, you're judging night champion.
Yeah.
Next time you can hunt, and we went by it religiously, had to.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't even want to attempt to put this many dogs in the woods with non-hunting judges.
Yeah. So what do you see that has, you've been involved with it and have seen a lot of things, you've seen the evolution of it and how it's progressed, this hunt has, and what, and maybe just since you've kind of been this acting president, what are some of the changes that you feel have been good, that have worked good for the Grand American, or that you, that have been a positive, and what are some of those things?
I think our relationship has been instrumental in making it grow. I think I give you guys a lot of credit for that because, y'all support us 100%. I can remember when Todd was more involved with the coonhound side, and every December, he came to our December meeting, flew down, what do y'all need? Everything for quite a few years until, I told him one time, you don't need to come. We'll appreciate if you want to, but you don't need to.
Yeah.
I got your phone number.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think some of the changes we've made were the biggest one recently, changing, taking the walk-ons has really increased our numbers. We first started doing it, we were charging $35 and we were taking $5 off each entry and paying it back to the top 20 each night. This year at our April meeting, one of the members proposed, he gave 3 different proposals, and we decided to go with the $50 one and to pay $20 back to the top 20 off of each cast. So last night, the top 20 got $303. Tonight, they'll get $273.
That's pretty big.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. Then the Final Four,
yeah,
I think it's a great
that's
package.
one other thing that you have changed since I've been here.
Yeah,
you used to have one. There's been a couple different ways when you named your final cast or how you determined it. But I think the way you have it now works about as well as any format that you've used.
I think
which
so.
is, if you can explain that.
Yeah, we use the double cast winners, and we typically have around 17, 18 double cast winners.
Yeah.
So we take the top 4 of those to go back out. The only drawback to it was on Saturday night, the interest would fall off some because if you didn't win your cast on Friday night, you didn't have a whole lot of incentive to hunt on Saturday unless you were just, hunting for the Grand American trophy or whatever. And that was one of the reasons that we changed and started trying to give some money back to the hunters. And I think once the word gets out, I think it's going to grow even more.
Yeah,
I really do. Matter of fact, we don't. Y'all know you don't ever quit working. We have a board meeting tonight at 8:00, and when we went out to supper last night, we had a notebook. We wrote down 15 things that we want to look at changing, try to improve and things. And I got a great staff. Without this wouldn't be possible. It's not me. I might be the one that people, when they want to complain about something, and that's okay. That's my job. We meet at the gate on Thursday at 9:50 before we open the gate. We have prayer, and I tell my folks, someone gets irate, whatever, you just call me and let me be the one to handle it. It's not your place. That's my job.
Yeah.
You take care of yours, and I'll take care of that.
Yeah.
And it's very seldom that we have any problems, but they're great.
Yeah.
The youngest one's probably got 5-6 years of experience, which is probably my grandson, but he's been here since he was little,
Mm-hmm.
But he's it's kind of funny. Yesterday, Steve Fielder was telling me he pulled up to the gate down there and had forgotten his pass, and said, Will told him, you can't come in here and park. And he was like, but I'm a vendor. He said, yes, sir, but you don't have the pass. You can't come in here.
Yeah.
and he knows, Will. And finally he said, Will, I'm Steve. You don't remember me? Oh, Mr. Steve, I know who you are now. He said, yes, sir, you can come in here and park. But he told me, he said he was doing his job, So, I mean, it's just a great group to work with.
Yeah. And we can see that from the outside looking in, and you're exactly right. There's always a good team. Any event always has a good team.
Yeah.
And you can see from the outside looking in, you can see your different committees or different folks that are working their part of the event. And you got to have that. And you've got some good folks in place that are doing their jobs. And that's what makes things work so much easier.
Each one of them has an assignment.
Yeah.
And they know what their job is.
Yeah.
And we use the radios. Yeah. It works real good.
Well, until you've been directly involved with putting on an event of this caliber, I think it's easy to not understand what all really goes into it. Yeah. And there's a lot of, it's easy to say, well, why don't you do this or that? But a lot of those things you've already thought through, and there's a reason you don't do this or that a lot of times.
Yeah.
But
one of our board members who was just elected this past year, he's always hunted and guided and served as a club rep for his guides. But this is the first year he's been out here all weekend working the grounds. And he was like, man, I didn't realize, he said, I had an idea. He said, but I didn't realize how much work y'all do.
Yeah. And you mentioned the club. So you actually have it set up a little different than any other organization that I know of. Explain how that works with your club network.
Yeah, we have 15 clubs that make up the Grand American Association. And the clubs, supply the guides, supply the people working on the grounds and everything. And what we do is once everything's paid, we divide the remaining money between all the clubs based on participation. Each guide is a share. Each person working on the grounds is a share. So, we'll typically have 200-something shares, and we take that money and divide it, equally between all the clubs based on their participation. If my club's got 15 people working, and they work all 3 days, I mean, that's 45 shares. If a club's got 2, and that's what they get. So it's based on what you put into it.
Yeah. So I know we've had since I've been here, usually we've tried to provide you an assistant or to help you with some maybe entry things. Some folks can get into our systems with dog entry stuff or whatever. And I know here the last couple of years, Joyce Little was always a kind of a staple back in the office. And I'm sorry we gave you Trevor. You might not look quite as good as Joyce here, but Trevor's sitting here with us as well. So how's you're used to working with Autumn Oaks Winter Classic and those, and working here at this event. I know you enjoy working with these folks as well back there.
Oh yeah.
What does your day look like back there in the hunt office?
Yeah, usually from about 10:30, I get back there and we start working on changes and walk-ups, and you guys alluded to it a little bit, and I just wanted to double it. Is that on the outside you can see some of the moving parts, but you don't really notice all that happens in the back end and the administrative, and how good you guys work together as a total team. Everybody doing their part, and it's unique, and all the clubs filtering in and confirming their entries and all that sort of thing. And it's always fun being back there in the war room with them and getting everything taken care of. And I know since I've been on board, there's been some changes in how you guys used to do things, and you guys have made a lot of adjustments, and it's been a good couple of years, I think. And I think this year was probably one of the smoother years we had. A lot of connection issues today with internet, but I think it's just because of the pure amount of people on the grounds using Wi-Fi and different networks caused for some connectivity issues, but took that on the chin and kept rolling pretty good with it, I think. Still put on a good hunt tonight.
We had to go old school. We had to write everything.
Yeah.
Hey, you always have that backup
That's
plan.
right.
That's why
someone was like, what are we going to do? We're going to take the laptop outside and stuff. I said, we don't know how to write.
Yeah. I did want to say one thing, and I think people would agree with this, that the Grand American is probably the event, the Coonhound event that is most synonymous with the location that it's in, Orangeburg, South Carolina. And you can really tell that when you come here. There's the Thursday night dinner that the city and the county puts on. You have radio stations and TV stations on out here. You got newspapers coming out. I've had to do an interview myself for newspaper stuff. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship with Orangeburg and the city council members and the mayor and maybe the county and what all they do to ensure that this is a successful event as well?
Yes. They take care of a lot of the advertising for us and help us. One thing a lot of people don't realize, this fairgrounds is privately owned, so we have to rent it. And I'll be honest with you, it's expensive. Yeah, it's expensive, and they help us with that as well. The police department, it's great to work with. They supply our security, and I mean, you may have noticed this year the cameras. We've got cameras set throughout the thing. So,
doggone it, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
That's
what it would be, inconspicuous,
but
they've got cameras throughout, and they'll have uniform as well as plainclothes officers here the whole weekend walking. I have their phone numbers. It's just had a problem today at the gate. I was actually doing the kitty show when they called me on the radio, and I'm like, I'm busy. And our Jay Lannigan, our chairman of the board, he said, I'll take care of it. So he goes out there, and we had to get a police officer to get someone to move. But, it doesn't matter what time it is, day or night or whatever. They're great. The Chamber of Commerce, I mean, gosh, James and them are just phenomenal. And his staff take care of so many things behind the scenes. And that banquet dinner that we put on, the chamber pays for half of it. We pay for half of it. Actually now, Purina, gives us some money to help put it on because of, them doing their awards and stuff there. Works out real good. I think, Dave and Mark and them do a good job of promoting that and the relationship with all of us. I think it's just phenomenal. And like I told you yesterday, you've got a great group too. Trevor is exceptional to work with. Still thinking I got much boot soler than he is, but no, it doesn't matter what it is, he just takes it and always got that smile and always positive attitude,
Yeah.
And he's great to work with.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Joyce earlier. Some of the ladies in there in the office was asking me today, said, what was the lady that used to help before this young man? And I said, that was Joyce. Yeah, that's her name. That's
Joyce
her name.
Little,
Yeah,
yeah.
Joyce was,
Joyce,
she was
yeah.
great. And I was telling him, I said, we still speak every once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
It was great, but
Yeah, we do too. Not as she was a staple there
Oh,
in our
yes,
department
yes,
and
yes.
just a good soul too. But
Right.
she's taking care of her grandbabies now,
Yeah.
enjoying life,
Yeah.
retired life. Yeah,
And then, Taylor, Taylor worked in there for a few years after Joyce left, and Taylor's always the same way. Just anything she can do to help and stuff. And I don't have any complaints that I can think of with anything. And our group, I always tell them it's not a mistake unless we can't fix it.
Yeah.
We haven't run into
Yeah.
anything we can't fix.
Yeah.
And you got to be willing to change. You got to be willing to grow.
Yep.
And just like when I started coon hunting, it was a for sale flashlight and a lantern, and that was your light.
Yeah. And this weekend we're using thermals. out
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I mean, that's what I was fixing, and how far we've came from on the electronics end.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, and
Yeah, so let's talk about the hunt a little bit itself. As far as we don't hear a whole lot, and oftentimes I feel like if somebody has a complaint, I'm sure you hear some of them come to you, but I think they also come to us. Hey, this happened last night or whatever. I feel like it's been a good number of years since we've been here, but it has those as far as complaints have really diminished a lot.
Yeah,
really, and I think it really speaks a lot for the hunters. And oftentimes I think a whole lot of that has to do with leadership, getting them on board, and
yeah, and we're like I said, with our group of clubs that we use, I mean, we're pretty strict on a lot of things. If a guide gets scratched and leaves his cast, it's that club's responsibility to put another guide with them. Yeah, we keep guides here. If they come back here and we have to supply a guide, then they don't get a share for that cast. And if it happens twice, and then they're not guiding.
Yeah.
So it's business.
Yeah.
You've got to be that way, and that's what makes it successful.
Yeah, as far as the hunting goes, it's the moon is bright right now.
Oh, yeah,
It looks to be full moon, and you've had quite a bit of rain here recently too. So water levels are high this weekend, right?
We actually had 2 or 3 guides that could not guide
because of the water levels.
Tuesday, I sent out a text to all my club reps. I said, Thursday, you check with your guides, make sure they're good. First and foremost is safety.
Yeah.
No hunter, no ham put in danger, and they're good about it. You remember 3 years ago we had the ice storm?
Yeah.
We had like 15 guides that couldn't guide because of it. So as long as they still hunt, the club still gets a share. So that's something. It's not their fault that their woods are flooded or froze or whatever. So.
Trevor, you got any things for David here? We don't want to hold him up too long here. I'm sure he's got some things to run after.
Getting to sit down for me.
I guess wrapping it up a little bit. I mean, it's whenever you're thinking about a successful event, obviously you're talking about avoiding any major issues, not having to deal with a lot of questions and things like that. But talking about the turnout a little bit this weekend, and I'm not just talking entry numbers, but we all know that a couple of years ago, with some of the unfortunate things that happened due to restrictions and things, it affected coon hunting the same as it did everything else. There was a dip in vendors, travel restrictions, things like that. I think last year you guys had the monster show, the 2-day show, and me and Danielle talked about that on the podcast as well. So you'll hear us talk about that a little bit. This year, you guys have another big successful show. I think around 115 each day plus the youth show, so just shy of 300 entries in that. You're sitting at almost 600 entries over the weekend. And then you guys are up over 100 vendors again, right?
Yes.
So,
I
man,
think
can you talk
the-
just a little bit about how it's finally coming back to the Grand American now?
Yes. COVID years, the vendors did fall off. Part of it was supply. They couldn't get things and stuff, and we had some that lost. And we've had a few that their internet sales have picked up so much that they don't need to come.
Yeah.
So
that's everywhere.
Yeah. So, but this year, Ashley Julian, she took over the vendors. Jay and Roger had been doing them for years, and she took it over. And she has actually went out to some of the trade shows and stuff and handed out flyers and stuff about the Grand American, and she's brought us some diversity into it. It's not all hunting stuff and everything, and I think it's great.
Because you do actually have a lot of locals that are not hunters that come out here to
Absolutely.
this. Absolutely,
yeah, we do, and it's good to see that much different. Everybody has leashes and collars, but you walk through and you see Pretty in Pink and this boutique or whatever, and you look and I'm not going over there to buy nothing, but you look in the booth full. And that's what I want to see. And I think she's done a great job, and
seems to me like she's taking pride in doing that as well.
She does, and that's the good thing about all of our people. They take pride in it. I think we're back Friday morning. I think she told me she was at 106. And I think she's put a few more in there since then. And like I said, the show, Danielle and them do a great job.
And Gary, let's give Gary some credit. They're running him ragged over there.
Yes. I was fixing to say Gary and Andrew. Andrew is he's one of my club members. I've known him since he was born. He's 22 years old, and couple years ago, the guy who did the show announcement, he's a highway patrolman, and wound up he couldn't be here. And Daniel's like, "What am I going to do?" I said, "I'll find you somebody."
Yeah.
And Andrew's just got a great voice.
He does.
Yeah.
I've noticed that. He's just clear, and that really makes it nice.
Yeah. And the first year we laughed and picked at him because he booted so many names, on the. On the dogs and stuff, but he's gotten a lot better, and he looks forward to it. And Gary, he just works and wrong. Danielle is the head of it, and she's the figurehead, if you want to say. But she'd be just quick to tell you as anybody else.
You're talking about Gary and Danielle Champ. They just don't get much better than those folks.
And they live in Virginia.
West Virginia.
And come down and do the show and stuff for us. And
they're still relatively young folks, and it's good to see young folks that enthusiastic like they are to jump and roll up their sleeves. And
I know last year, this is her third year doing it, I think. And last year, I told them, I said, I want you to come down on Thursday and early enough to go to the banquet. And she was like, you really want us to do that? I'm like, of course I do. I want you to know how much we appreciate y'all. And that's one thing with that banquet, we try to reckon, we invite our sponsors. A lot of them don't come because they have so many people, and they want to take their people out and eat and stuff, and we understand that, but we still like to give them that recognition. And
with that meal you provide, though, it's hard to beat. You can't.
Oh boy, those guys do a great job.
Yeah, they do. It seems like every year it's just the steaks were phenomenal the other night.
Yeah. And someone the first time there, they were like, "Man, I can't believe y'all do this." And look, you got to take care of your people and the people who take care of you and stuff. And I've always believed that if you look out for others, and then if you need something or whatever, they're more willing to help you.
Yeah, one guy you've not mentioned yet is Harry Ott. He's still out and about, and he's,
we were picking.
We tried to get him on this podcast. He wants nothing to do with it, so we got to give him a shout out at least.
Thursday we were sitting out there at the gate about 3:30 or so, and somebody said something about who's in charge, and they pointed at me, and I said, "No, I'm number 2, Roger's number 3, Jay's number 4. They said, who's number 1? And about 4 of us said, Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were trying to figure out, I think I've got 46 years. Harry's got 53 that he's been here. And Randy Reiser, who takes care of the barns, is got 48.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know.
Well, hey, we've kept you long enough, but we just want to let you know.
My phone has done buzzed about 15 times.
Yeah. Hey, we just, on behalf of United Kennel Club, we appreciate all the work you and your team put into this event.
Yeah.
It's always a good time, and I know your participants enjoy it. And this weekend was just as good as it gets again.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. But with that, thanks for taking a little time here. And if you guys have any final thoughts, I
just want to say thank you to all the hunters and show people and everything who do come out. And, I tell all, if you got a problem, let me know about it. Yeah. If you want to give credit to somebody, give credit to my team.
Thanks for listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and to like and follow UKC Hunting Ops on Facebook and Instagram.